Hey everyone, welcome once again to the PHP 101 Screencast with me, Phil from BHP Web Design. Let's see if I can pull this up again. Hi! I know I need a shave. It's getting a bit long. There we go. Anyway, today's screencast. I'm going to do basics how to build a web page. Some people, I know there's a lot of people may want to know how to do that. You may not necessarily be looking at my podcast, screencast, whatever you want to call it, to be learning that, but I thought, why not? Why not teach people how to do it? Okay. What I'll be teaching you is basic HTML layout, and how to add on a CSS file and do a bit of CSS styling of your page as well. So let's crack on with this. Let's get rid of that. So you can get rid of my ugly face yet again. What I'm going to start off with, if I just say goodbye to that, is an empty folder. Yes, my screencast folder is now empty. I haven't got my usual starting point, but what I will be teaching you how to do is make that page. Okay, starting from the complete basics. Okay, so the most basic level of web language is HTML. Okay, the web was built on HTML. When you write in PHP scripts or CGI scripts or ASP.NET scripts, end of the day all you're doing is churning out HTML. Okay, so what we need to do is make a HTML page, which I'll just do now. There we go. And the way to make a HTML page is just give an extension of .html. What I'm going to do is just call this index. Now, on most web servers, index.html is the recognized entry page. Okay, be 1 or 2 stars. It'll be index.html or home.html. 99.9% of the time, it's index.html or .php or .cgi. What that allows you to do then is, if I just bring up a web browser window, and I'll just go 192. Actually, no, go local. I can just do straightforward. Oh, hang on a minute. You can do a straightforward / I just realised one thing. I haven't actually started up my web server. Just give me one moment, and I'll get that started. Any moment now. Let's try this one again in just a moment. As you can tell, I was very prepared for this one. Right, if I try it again, there we go. If I just go to / screencast, it's actually loading up the index.html file. Now, this would be exactly the same as if I did this. It's loading up the same page. You may not believe me, but I'll prove it to you. I'm going to prove it. I'll open a text editor. I'm using Commode Edit yet again, just because I haven't used it in a while, and recently I've just been getting back into it. Okay, now if I just type in hello world and save that, and go back to the web browser and refresh. Modern web browsers are intelligent enough to realise you're just wanting to say this word out to people. Okay, it's intelligent enough, if I inspect the element, to put it in the HTML tags for you. Now, HTML tags I'll get into in just a moment. Okay, but modern web browsers are intelligent enough to do that. But you do not want to do that. You do not want to do it that way, because you can't do anything. You couldn't put images in and things like that. But just to prove, .html, index.html works. If I delete that out and press enter, there you go. It's coming up saying hello world still. And it's still loading the same page. Right. That's how simple it could be to put in a hello world. But you do not do that. It's a big no-no. Okay. We need to use tags. Tags will tell the web browsers what is what, how to render. Okay. Now, first thing you need to put at the very top of your document is what's known as a doc type. Okay. And the way you do a doc type is like so. The left triangle bracket, explanation mark, doc type in capitals, and I'm just going to type HTML and close that. Now what we're telling the browser is the standard of HTML we're going to use is what's known as HTML5. It's the most recent up-to-date version, adds a lot of bells and whistles, and adds a lot of customization techniques as well to it. Okay, so it's important you put that at the top of the document. Next, we need to open the actual HTML tag. And the way we do that again, triangular brackets, HTML triangular bracket. Now that is what we call an opening tag. But then every opening tag needs to have a closing tag as well. And the way you close the tag is basically you type out the same, but just before the word you put a forward slash. Just one, not two like I just did then. Now this is telling the web browser, here is the start of my HTML and here's the end of it. Outside of this you won't find any HTML. This makes sense. It just kind of puts a bookend on either side of your page. Right, so that's your starting tag. Next you can just get away with probably putting body, and yet again close it properly like so. Now body hopefully will make sense to you. Body is the main content of your page. Okay, so now if I type in the hello world here again like so, I save and I'll just bring up the web browser again if I can get to it and refresh. Doesn't look like much difference, but it is working. Okay, I'll inspect the element. This, you see, it's added a tag here, but I'll come into this in just a moment. But you see, you've got the HTML either end of the document, and then the body is wrapping everything it's displaying. Okay, now you can see on this there's a thing called a head tag, where you do what the head tag is for, and what you can do with it is you're setting out some background information of the page. Okay, things like a title for the page and so on and so forth. Now if I bring up actually let's bring up my site. Can't seem to type today. I'll shrink it down as well so you get the iPhone version, because otherwise it looks a bit messy. If you look at the top here, you'll see it says PHP Web Design Independent Freelance Web Design. That is displayed using a title tag inside the header. Now if I go to it, so actually I'll open this out fully. Where is it now? Here's my header tag. I'll open that up. And you can see here it says title and it's got it listed out. That is what's telling the browser what to call the page. And there's some other bits and pieces here which I'll come into more detail in just a moment, and some that you don't really need to worry about at the moment because this is just entry level stuff. So the way to assign the head area is to put a head tag in, and yet again we have to close it like so. Then to give the page a title, we'll just go title, and then give it a cool title. This is a cool page title, and then we close it again like so. I'll save that, bring up the browser again, and I'll refresh. Oh, you can't really see it on this. If I change, let's have a look. Try and remember how to do this now. if I try and change the look, reset to default theme. There we go. Now you can see it. This is a cool page title. It's pulling that out from inside these title tags and goes, oh, okay, this is what the page is called, and sticks it up there for you. So we've already got some little bit of basic structure starting already. Okay. One of the other things we need to do is we need to use give it some meta content. Meta is, I can't think how to describe meta now. It's specific information to do with pages. Okay, it's background information yet again. Now the one I'm just going to copy and paste in here is the content type meta tag. Now what we're telling the web browser here is that the content type is going to be text/HTML. So we're telling it we're using HTML to display the page, and we're using a char set of UTF-8. As long as you set that, you don't need to really worry about it. Okay, UTF-8 just basically tells it that you're using standard recognized characters, basically keyboard characters and so on, in your website. Okay, there we go. There's your basic HTML page. You've made your first already. Hopefully it won't go in too quick. If I refresh, you can see it doesn't change it too much, but there we go. Now you may be wondering, how does it decide to do that like that way? And, yeah, make it look the way it does. You try to use the font that it does and everything. Now web browsers have built into them their own set of rules for words, character sizing, things like that. So if I, for example, wanted to put a title on this page, I could use what's known as a H1 tag, and then go, this is a page title, and close the H1 tags and save. Then go back to my web browser and refresh. You'll see this has come out bolder in a bigger font size with some spacing either side of it. This is what the browser's been told to do by default. Now, this stuff we can control. Okay, we can control this with HTML, CSS, sorry, and so on and so forth. But first, what I'm going to do is let's just continue building up this page first, and then we're going to play around with the CSS in a bit when I teach you how to do that. So HTML5, when that came along, gave us some new tags that we can use. We could define our own tags, but then also gave us some new ones that didn't exist before. Ones that help you semantically mark up your text, so it made sense basically. Okay. Two of the main ones they added was header and footer. Without going into too much detail, I think this one's a bit obvious. It denounced the head area of the page and the foot area of the page. And you may not realise websites naturally have a header and a footer, but they do. All web pages do, pretty much. I'll try and think of one to bring up for you to prove it. Well, you could look at mine here. No, mine hasn't. I haven't really given it a footer, but I have given it a header, and the header is here, where this my logo is being displayed, and this kind of subtitle of text is being displayed. They're the header of the page. And this is the main content of the page, and on the side here is a sidebar, which also they added a tag for, which was aside, I think it was, which you write out as aside like that. This would denounce that this is a sidebar, anything in here, semantically. Okay, my text editors are not recognising this because it just hasn't been upgraded fully to HTML5. But anyway, the design I'm doing doesn't need that bit though, so we'll get rid of that. So yeah, if we look at the page we're going to finish with, so you'll see here, okay, this is the page we're going to finish with, the page you recognise from many a time. There's a head section, a main body and a footer. Okay, now the header has got the title in, so let's do that. Let's make that part of the site. Okay, open this up. So in the header we've got a title, and the title of the page is Hello Screencast. That was inventive. So because it's a header and it's a top level header, we're going to use a header tag of H1. These header tags go from H1 to H6. The lower the number, the more important a title it is. So typically your H1 is your web page title, you know, your company name that's at the top of the page, whatever. You really only want to use one H1 per page where possible. Okay, so in this case, there we go. Just save that. Hit web browser again and refresh this. You see it comes up Hello Screencast, nice and bold at the top of the page. Next, we're going to put in this middle area our main body content. Now it's can be useful to put this in a wrapper, a div, what's known as a div tag. Now divs don't really mean anything. A div is just a useful tool to wrap a load of code in, so you can target it a lot easier in CSS and just keep it together. You know, the way to think of it is it's like an invisible fence that goes around all the content that's inside it. It won't allow things out of that fence, you know, to cross the wall kind of thing. It keeps it inside, it keeps it penned in. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put in this div some paragraph text. Actually, I should have told you about paragraph texts before. Right, I'm going to put some content in this div. Let's just do that first. Now, ultimately on this page, when it's done, we're going to put lots of text like this. Okay. Now, this, as you can see, is written like a paragraph. It finishes, then starts a new paragraph of text, finishes. To do that, we have what's known as a paragraph tag. Now, the paragraph tag is very simple to use. There we go. That denounces a paragraph. Okay. So what have you put in here? Whatever you put in this paragraph tag, it will be contained in one paragraph. And I can't type today. Oh my god. So if I save that, bring up the web browser again, and refresh, you'll see it's put it in nice and simple. You'd be maybe thinking, well, what's the difference between that and me just writing it out? Well, if I just copy and paste this a couple of times, and then open the page again and refresh, you'll see it's spacing the paragraphs out. Okay, it's putting each one on a new line. I mean, you know, if I just went into some code, went into this, got rid of the paragraph tags, typed in hello let's just put that. So you see here, and now I've put 2 lines of text. Now I'm probably going to get shown up here, and what should happen is it puts it all on one one line. HTML eats up white space. Now, what we mean by white space is this area all around here where nothing's in. It's all known as white space. Okay, so here we know there's a line and there's a big gap here of white space. Nothing there. It'll look at the page and go, okay, you put that there. Well, I'm going to ignore that and I'm going to just put it out like that. That's how that's how I've been told to do it. That's why we use paragraph tags. Okay, and I said they're so simple to use. Yeah, you won't even realise you're using them sometimes. Let's just close them off. I've actually, when been typing a document in Word, been using paragraph tags because I'm just so used to doing it and I forget. So if I put them in the paragraph tags, there we go, let's put it on 2 separate lines. So, back to what I was going to originally do. I was going to get some content. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a website called Html5. It's a website created by Chris Coyer, who's famous for doing CSS Tricks website and Shop Talk Show and loads of other things. He created this website just because it's an easy way of getting hold of bits of filler code to use in the meantime when you're developing. My internet's decided to slow down to a crawl just to annoy me today. Come on. Come on, load. Okay, it's not loading for some stupid, strange reason. So what I'm going to do is, I've got it some here already anyway, so I'll just copy and paste that. Let's get rid of what's here. I'm going to turn on a word wrap as well. Yeah, word wrap. Anyway, puts it all on the one screen for me, makes it easy to see. And I've got an extra tab there which I don't need. Okay. If you notice, there's something I've been doing, which I thought I might point out now, and my text editor's doing it naturally for me, is it's indenting items into a parent-child relationship. Okay, so in this, for example here, this H1, this header tag, is a child of header. So what it's done is it's saying anything you do to this header will affect this H1. So to make it easier for you to associate that with it, it's indented it one space over. So then you can easily see, okay, this is a child of that, that's a child of that, and this is a child of that. Okay, these you could almost count as siblings because they're on the same level next to each other. But say title is a child of head, which is a child of HTML. When you learn this parent-child relationship, it becomes easier with CSS, which I will briefly talk about later on when I get time. So anyway, I got some paragraphs of text there, so I'll just refresh this. There we go, got some text in. It's put it into the paragraphs with new lines and entering the text. And then finally in the footer, oh, I just realised something. What I did do is I gave this main body content a page title. So what I'm going to do is just inside the div, because it belongs inside it, I'm going to do a H2 and call it a home page. And this is my second level header, H2. So it's slightly smaller, but it's there. And I just realised that extra tab should have been there on these, so I'll just quickly put those back in and save that. Bring up a web browser again, refresh, and you see it's made the H2 there slightly smaller than the H1 but bigger than the standard page text. And then we've got all this. And then finally, because I'm waffling on, let's just get the footer done. So in the footer I had another H2 and I called it main footer. I'll save that. If you're hearing a lot of car noises, I apologise, but it's a bit warm today, so I've got the windows open. So here you go, it's come up in its own section. Great. So now we've got our content together. But it looks a bit boring. It looks nothing like that. It's like that. It's boring as hell. Reason is we need to put some styling on it. Now what we can do to put styling on is use CSS. So what I'm going to do is, first thing, let's make a folder. I'm going to call that CSS. And inside there I'm going to make a new file. And I'm going to call that style.css, not CCC, CSS. Yes. So the .css extension is recognised as a cascading style sheet. There you go. See, it's come up here. It's trying to recognise for Dreamweaver. I'm not opening that today because it's too goddamn slow. So what I'm going to do is, if I just pull that up and I'll open this in here. Obviously at the moment it is blank, but it won't be for long. Now we need to tell the page that this CSS file exists and to use it. So what we need to do, we need to link to it. And the way we do that is inside the head section of the page. I'll just go link at ref or href equals now I'll just type all this in and then I'll talk you through it. Right. Oh, I've put tink. That should be link. There we go. Right. So what we've got here is we're telling the document to link to this document here, which is this one here. In web design, everything's done on a relative path. Now, if you ever used your command line tools or anything like that, you may have an idea what a relative path is. But what I'll do is I'll bring up this again. So what we're saying is we want to link to a file called style.css. Then we're telling it where it is. Well, we're saying from where you are, which is here, index.html, you need to go into a folder called CSS, and then the file is called style.css, and there it is. That's what we're doing. We're teaching it where to find it. Now we need to then give it a rel of style sheet. I believe this is to do with screen readers, so they kind of know what it is that's there. Some people argue you don't need to put one on style sheets. I just do automatic. So anyway, next type, we'll give it a type. We'll tell it it's a text/CSS file, so the web browser knows how to render it. And then this bit says media equals all. Now what that's for is you could say, for example, just put media/screen. Now what that means is, if someone's viewing this page in a browser or on a screen, use this CSS file. Then we can do what's known as a print style sheet, things like that, in which case you would then put media equals print and give it another style sheet, and then it will say, well, if someone wants to print this document, use this style sheet, because there's certain things you may want to strip out of a page when someone wants to print your website. Okay, well in this case I'm just putting media all because it doesn't necessarily need it. and that basically says whatever the person's viewing this page on, use this style sheet. Okay. Now at the moment, if I save that, it ain't going to do anything to the page. I refresh, it looks exactly the same. Okay. We need to actually inject some styling to make it look a bit more like this. So what I'm going to do is just open up my CSS file, and then what I like to do is completely reset all the predefined margin and paddings. Okay, might be advised me to explain the differences. Okay, everything on the internet is made in a box. In fact, I could probably find an image to help me illustrate this. If I just type that, there we go. So, can't not be able to see this much, makes so much sense, but here we go. The content is in the middle. Okay, let's pull this up. Right, content is in the middle. This is your content. Okay, then what you can imagine is around your content there is 3 boxes. Okay, first one is your padding. Now, padding gives you a cushion inside the box. Bear with me on this. Gives you a cushion inside the box where items aren't allowed to go. So if you've got a background on behind your text that's literally just going just behind the text, and you put a bit of padding on, it'll allow the background to leak out a little bit. Okay, I will go into more detail about this. I'm just trying to give you the basic idea in this. So then we've got the padding that goes all the way around. Next we have a border. Now the border is like the wall. Okay, it's the brick wall that goes round. Now you can show up a border quite easily if I go border okay, if I save that now, you may not be able to see this too much, but hopefully you can. If I refresh this now, you can see there's a box around everything because I'm highlighting the borders. Okay, now a border you can make any size you want. There's loads of different things you can do to it, make it dashed and so on and so forth. But yeah, the way to think of the border is it's a brick wall. Nothing of your content goes outside of that. Then around that you have a margin. Okay, now the margin, what that allows you to do is, say you got these 2 boxes here touching each other. We don't want that to happen. So what you can do is you could say on everything, give it a margin 5 pixels. Okay. Then if I bring up the page again and refresh, you can see everything's kind of been pushed away from each other because there is that margin there. So from this wall to that wall, there's 5. Well, it would be 10 pixels actually, or 5. No, 5 pixels of padding margin there. Another 5 there, another 5 there, another 5 there. It kind of pushes everything away from each other, so they can't clash to each other. Okay, so that's your basic idea of a box model. When you get your head around the idea that everything is a square with these 3 layers on, or 4 layers, if you count the content as well, it's 4 layers. Once you get your head around that idea, things become a lot easier to design and do. Okay, so if I go to my CSS style sheet, what I did then was I used this. It's known as the Universal Star Selector. Okay, that was just to save me some time instead of me having to choose everything. But anyway, going back to what I was saying originally before, I like to reset the defaults for the margin and padding on everything. So the way to do that is the Star Selector and then go margin and padding what we're saying here is go through and select everything, and then tell it I want my margin to equal 0, no margin whatsoever. Okay, and then my padding, I want that to equal 0, so no padding on anything. Okay, so if I save that and refresh, everything gets squished up together here, as you can see. Okay, some stuff's almost coming off the side of the screen. It's all getting squished together because the margin padding is now gone. So there we go. This is just a form of reset. There is more advanced resets. If you search Google for one, you're bound to find hundreds of different versions of a CSS reset, as they're known as. But this is just a basic entry-level one, which allows some of the original styling to stay, but stops you from getting unexpected bits of spacing thrown in on your page. Okay, so next, I think this font's a bit too big. And you can see on this one, the font's a lot smaller. So I want to change the font size. Plus, here I've put this nice background on the body of the page, but not inside the content areas. Now this is going to look a bit messed up for a moment, but bear with me on this one. I may be confusing you. Yeah, again, I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do is come down to new line, and I'm going to type body, because I'm targeting the body tags, and then I'm going to go font, and this is CSS shorthand that I'm going to use now. So I'm going to say I want a font of 10 pixels and I want it to use Arial, Helvetica, and sans serif. What this is known as, this group in here, the 3 font titles, is what's known as a font family. Okay, it's always advised to set a font family for anything, because what it was saying in the web browser is, when you load, try and use an Arial font. You do not have Arial font. Okay, the fallback is now Helvetica. Don't you have that? Right, okay, fallback is sans serif. You could make the font family ridiculously long if you wanted to, specifying hundreds of different fonts. You don't need to. You only really need to put 3, 4 at maximum. You can get away with just putting 1 if you guarantee that everyone has that. So you can't guarantee it, it's advised to put font family in. I'm also telling it I want the font size to be 10 pixels. So if I save, which I already have, and then bring up web browser again and refresh, you'll see everything's kind of shrunk. All this is shrunk down to 10 pixels, but you'll see these are shrunk as well. Now these have been told to do their sizing to a fraction or percentage of what's known as the body size. Okay, because I've set the font size under the body tag here, the rest of the page will now look at this and go, well, the rest of the default styling will look at it and go, right, okay, you set it to be 10 pixels. I'm meant to be 160% of that size, which would be 16 pixels. Right, and then whatever's meant to be that size would then use it. You may have heard of a thing called an M, which is written out as just say 1M, like that. M is a different form of measurement. 1M at the moment would be equivalent to 10 pixels. Okay, if you wanted 20 pixels, you'd have to put 2M. 30 pixels, 3M. Okay, you're saying you're wanting a percentage of it. Okay, but that's more complicated, and I'm going off topic and making the screencast 10 hours long by doing that. So there we go, we've set the font size to be slightly smaller. Now to add that background colour. This is where it's going to look a bit funky for a moment, but you need to bear with me on this one. So I'm just going to say background and then specify the colour with a hash code or a hex code of CCC. I can point out this is exactly the same as if I wrote CCC, which you may be more familiar with seeing if you use Photoshop or something like that. It's just I can use the shorthanded version of that colour code at the moment. so I'm going to save me a bit of typing. So I'll go to the page, reload. Now you'll see I've got this nice kind of light grey background colour, okay, which looks very nice. But you see on the more normal version, the complete version, there's this white area around everything, okay, which there isn't at the moment. This is where the header, this div, and this footer tag come into play. These are all boxes as well, so I can give these boxes a colour. Hey, great. So if I go back into my CSS, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to target those tags, but all together. Save me typing the code out 3 times. I'm just going to target them all together. Now the way to do that is I'll go header, comma, div, comma, footer. Okay. Then I'm going to go background. FFF. So okay, save that, open the web browser again, and you'll see behind all the text now I've got white. But what you can also see is it's taken up the full width of the page. Not good. What we need to do now is specify the width of the page that we want it to be. Now in this case I used 600 pixels, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just do that now. So I'll go width. It's saying this header, div and footer I want it to be a maximum width of 600 pixels. Save. Open up the page again and refresh. There we go, it's made it 600 pixels wide. But now I want to center it. How do I do that? Right. Also, I want to space it apart. I'm going to do this all in one because I'm running out of a bit of time here. In between these I have a spacing of 10 pixels, and then I wanted to center them as well. So the way to do that is if I bring up this again, I'm going to type in margin. This is where the margins come in. Now I may have reset them up here, but this is so I can set it down here and I know I'm not going to have any weird occurrences happening. So the way you think of this, it goes like a clock face: top, right, bottom, left. This is the shorthand, okay? Where I've written top, right, bottom, left here, you replace the numbers and it corresponds to top, right, bottom, left. So 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay? So on the top of each of them I want to put 10 pixels. Okay? Then to the right I want to put auto. This will make sense in a moment. Bottom 0 pixels, and to the left auto. Now what I'm telling it is, on the top of all these items put a 10 pixel spacer. Then to the right and left of it, automatically work out what width you have to play with and set it. Okay, so then left and right pad margin will be the same, therefore should, unless something weird has happened, centralize my page. So now if I refresh again, there we go. You see now I've got everything centralized in the page. That's where the auto bit comes in. And if I resize the page, you'll see the auto causes it to stay centralized on my screen. So there we go, that works. Get rid of that page as well. Right, next I'm going to add a bit of padding to it because I don't want all this text touching the sides like you can see in the complete version. So if I go in again and I'm going to put a bit of padding on, so padding. Now if you're putting padding all the way around, you can just put it, and the same way around, you can just put it one number in and it automatically adds it, so 10 pixels. Save. I'll refresh again. And there we go. It's doing it. Now, something that is bugging me that I need to sort out now. At the moment, I'm targeting this div. The problem is wherever I put a div on the page to wrap some content, it is going to try and put these rules on it. But I only want to target this specific div. Now the way we can do that is CSS gives you two things you can use. Okay, you can use an ID or a class. Okay, now a class is something you're going to repetitively use. Things like what I'm going to call this one, because I'm going to use a class in this. Yeah, just things you're going to repeatedly use over and over and over. You just use a class on. Now, if you've got something that's going to be a one-off single occurrence of it, then you could use an ID. Some micro optimization of classes, I think, are meant to be quicker than IDs and so on. IDs really you should only you may use for jQuery and things like that. You know, your JavaScripts. Classes you more kind of use for your CSS. So way to do that is inside this div tag. I'm going to put a space and type class equals, and then put quotation marks, and then I'm going to give it a name. Now in this case I'm going to do it semantically and put it as page wrap, or no, actually no, main content, because that's what's going inside that div. It's just the main content. Then if I go to CSS, where I've put div here, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put period or full stop. Then I can put main dash content and save. Now what I'm telling it is, look for this class of main content. Now if I'd given it an ID, instead of putting a full stop or period as you may know it as, I'd have put a hash that denounces that it was an ID, but because it's a class I put a full stop. Save. Over at the page, refresh. It's still working. Now what happens is, if I put divs elsewhere in the page, they're not going to get affected by the styling I've put on this. It's just something I needed to sort out ahead of time. So anyway, we now have a bit of a basic layout. Kind of matches this. But if you notice on my version just here, on the version that's just here, it's kind of floating. Okay, you may be wondering, well, what has he done that? You know, why is it doing that? How is he kind of making it look like it is floating and not actually just sitting on the page? I'm using a new thing that came in on with CSS3, which is box shadow. Okay, now if you remember one of the previous screencasts, I went to CSS3 please. Can't remember the actual full address now, css3please.com, and this website will list a lot of CSS3 things that you can just copy and paste and put into your website wherever you want and need it. Okay, it's very useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the box shadow. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard, bring up the text editor, and I'm going to put it on the header, main content and footer section, and just paste it in. Okay, I'm going to just tidy this up because I'm just a bit OCD like that. Now what's going on at the moment is it's going to try and apply a white box shadow which doesn't move. Don't want that, doesn't look very nice. Okay, so what I'm going to apply is a bit of spacing out from it. Okay, so I'm going to make it 10 pixels, so I think that's right. Then from the top I'm going to move it 10 pixels. Then I'm going to space it out 5 pixels, not 54, 5, and I'm going to delete this last number because I don't feel the need for it. And then I'm going to change the colour of it to 888. Okay, just because I can. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that onto this one, save me retyping it, and save. and refresh. And you see now it's basically making the page look like it's hovering. And now you've made your first HTML page with some CSS affecting it. Now you can get a lot more complex than this if you really wanted to, but there's not much need. I mean, there's things like let's add some border radius onto it. The border radius, if I show you on this example, you see how the corners curve? That's what border radius does. Which there's two versions of syntax, but actually I think I can get away with just using the one of them now, come to think of it. So if I just go to here and type in border -radius, and I'm going to say how much of a curvature I want it on, let's say 10 pixels again, because it's just a little bit of a corner I want to put on. And I go back and refresh. There you go, it's just nicely smoothed out the corners. The box shadows recognised it and smoothed it out there as well. So there we go. That is how to make your first page. This by no means is a definitive guide. I'm just trying to give you some key pointers of where to start, okay? As long as you remember, there's basically loads and loads and loads and hundreds of tags that you can use in different ways of doing things. There's endless supply of things, okay? In fact, if I just go list HTML5 tags, this is the W3 schools list. You can see there's a fair old list, some of it HTML5, some of it HTML4, but there's lots of it. The same goes for CSS code that you can use. It goes on very much. You need to learn it all, really, or as much as you can, but don't be frustrated when you think you don't know it all, because in the day no one does. The web moves faster than we can, okay? So there we go, that's your first page. Hope I haven't bored you too much. If you are struggling, go check out my site, bhsowebdesign.com. There is a page full of videos, and then when you go on that page to watch the video, you can add a comment as well. You can leave me a comment, ask me for some help if you really need to. I just noticed a little problem I need to fix. That's a bit annoying. But yeah, leave me a comment, ask me for help, whatever, or you can contact me via the contact form. Or if I'm online at the time, why not Skype me? Okay, call from the computer to Skype me and just give me a bell. If I'm online, I'll answer, and I'm more than willing to try and help you out. You can also check out my blog, where I'll be keep meaning, and I keep saying I'm going to post some more. I just haven't got around to it yet. Okay, you can also look at my portfolio, some of the designs I've done. I just want to actually quickly show you one design I'm working on at the moment. Save me typing out the full link. If I go to this is one template I've recently made as well for some builders. Here we go. I just wanted to show this off because how cool. If that's working on the screen resolution, recording speed and stuff, you can see the background scrolling there. I just thought that was so cool, I had to show you it. But yeah, anyway, I'm rabbiting on. So that's it for now. Hopefully it won't be too long till I do my next screencast. But until then, be well, be kind to each other. Oh yeah. And I'll see you then. Bye.